With me today is Azam Khan. Azam Khan is a Bangladeshi secular blogger who is now no more in Bangladesh. He is somewhere in Europe. Where in Europe, we won't say because it's a question of Azam's security. We are going to discuss what's happening in Bangladesh today and what tomorrow looks like. Azam, hello and welcome to The Print.
Thank you very much, Divya.
How have you been?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for asking. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Azam, uh, let's dive straight in.
Yeah.
What's happening in Bangladesh? You had told me that you had to escape from Bangladesh because of attacks by radical Islamists on secular bloggers like you. You had lost a dear friend, a fellow blogger, to such an attack. But you had said that at that time Sheikh Hasina was in power, but today she is not in power. Bangladesh has a new political arrangement in place after a students' revolution ousted Sheikh Hasina in power. But why do you then say that you cannot return to Bangladesh?
Well, during Sheikh Hasina's regime, the fundamentalists, they enjoyed kind of tacit power, not direct power.
Okay.
And right now, during the Yunus government, they're enjoying direct power. And
Okay.
they are showing it, they're displaying it, they are uttering it, they're asserting it in every way they can. Um, if you look into the incident that happened after the ousting of Sheikh Hasina,
Right.
they attacked minorities, they attacked secular people. I remember one university professor from the University of Dhaka who happened to be a secular intellectual. He was attacked uh, near to the main airport of Bangladesh. I think they changed the name of the airport now. It was previously Hazrat Shah Jalal Airport, International Airport. I guess now they have changed it to the GA International Airport or something like that. But anyway, that's not important. The important thing is they started their attack on the very day they ousted Sheikh Hasina. And the horrendous situation the minorities are facing in Bangladesh, it's beyond, it's inexplicable. You can't bring it in words. So I guess we were in a bad shape during the Sheikh Hasina's regime, especially the secular and atheist bloggers. That's true, but now it's even worse.
There is a narrative, mostly from the government side, the current government side, and also from some of the journalists uh, in Dhaka, that the attack that are being reported from across Bangladesh are basically attacks on the Army League's ecosystem. So the narrative is that Sheikh Hasina ran a fascist government, and there were a lot of beneficiaries of that government. There was an entire class of people who benefited from Sheikh Hasina being in power. So these attacks that are taking place are not necessarily anti-Hindu or it's anti-Army League, yes, but not necessarily anti-Hindu. When some of us talk about anti-Hindu attacks, that is point number one. And also, how do you look at the attacks on the Army League rank and file? Do you think it's people's anger that's spilling over on the streets?
I don't think it is people's anger. Just look into the police killing. They killed. I don't know the exactly number, but it should not be less than thousands.
Thousands
Uh,
of policemen were killed.
yes, and it was very planned attack. Even one coordinator of the movement, he said it
Yes,
on the television
yes.
that they coordinated the plan and it was pre-planned, and so they said everything. And I think the attack on Hindus and Army League supporters or Army League leaders, I think it is also similarly planned. And just for God's sake, for argument's sake, for example, if we say that there is a guy who happened to be a Hindu leader, and they attacked him. But the problem is, in our country, we tend to hide communal attacks. And if it was a Muslim Army League leader, I mean, then uh, I mean, the attack would be denoted differently. Just imagine that there was attack on other Army League leaders' house, right? But you don't hear these rhetorics like Malaun or this kind of things. But when you attack a Hindu family, you utter these rhetorics against the Hindus. And and there is another problem. There are some Hindu student leaders who led the movement in a certain way.
Yeah.
Just imagine that right now there is a regime change in Bangladesh and he got attacked by some people. And they were attacking when they were beating them, uttering Malaun and all those sort of rhetorics. How do we delineate this attack? Should we say that, okay, he got attacked because he was a Hindu, or because he was a political leader? Of course, the religion is involved in it. I mean, if they attack Army League leaders, they don't utter the word Malaun or this kind of things. But when they attack a Hindu Army League leader, they do utter these words. So there is a difference. Also, we need to remember that thousands of people but victims. How many of them are actually Army League leaders or activists? But they say one thing. Even Dr. Yunus, he said one thing: Hindus support Army League, so it is justified. He said it in a tacit way, of course, not direct way. So historically, Hindus are the supporter of pro-liberation political party, which is Army League.
Army League.
Yes. So if you denote every Hindu as Army League supporter and attack them, does the attack gets legitimized? That's my question. Historically, Hindus, they are most of them, I would say 90% of them voted for Army League, around all the elections that happened in Bangladesh. So should we now say that all of them got attacked, but just because they supported Army League, then you can denote or you can stigmatize every Hindu in Bangladesh just because they support Army League in one way or another way?
Azam, there were reports, terrifying reports of attacks by the army in Chittagong on Hindu houses. CCTV cameras were reportedly broken. You must have seen those videos.
Yeah.
Then there is a concerted attack on ISKCON. What is the future of the Hindu in Bangladesh?
I see a grim future, actually.
Grim future.
Yeah. It's because the radicals are getting empowered every day. And a significant portion of this current regime is basically radicals, especially the student coordinators. There are some coordinators, I think it was on the 8th or 9th of August, they were at the Dhaka University, and they literally asserted that they will take over India's 7 states. You know what I mean?
This is a publicly they said so?
It was a public statement.
Okay.
It was a public statement. And anybody can say whatever they want, but you expect something more logical from the people who is studying at the best university of the country, right? And from the very beginning, this movement was led by Hizbut Tahrir, which is a very radical organization, and BBC published an interview of their, I think it was their coordinator or someone. It was someone for sure, and he accepted the truth. I mean, he told the truth on the camera that they were involved in this in this movement. So we know how these radical people behaves, right? They were burning, vandalizing. They did literally everything they could. And after the ousting of government, they attacked police, minorities. And yesterday, one leader of Jamaat Islami, he told in front of the press that on the 5th of August, it wasn't the Islamic revolution, but Islamic revolution will take place in Bangladesh very soon. So if there is the Islamic revolution, what do we think about the Hindus? What would happen to them? Of course, first, they will become a second-class citizen, which they are already almost. Uh, but they will be for sure. I mean, directly on paper, maybe. Um, and also, I think I'm afraid that there will be an increasing number of attacks on Hindu minorities. I mean, these radicals will force them to flee to India. I'm afraid of that too. Um, and there might be some rape victims, which our media is trying to hide so badly. It's tragic and hilarious at the same time. We know that there was two rape victims in the recent past, in the last 2 months, and our media, they wrote not a single word about it. Luckily, we had some people inside. So we still have some people inside the country, and they could go and interview the victims. And I posted about those rape victims, including their address, identity, of course, with their permission. But surprisingly, our so-called free media haven't wrote a single word. Some people even tried, and they communicated with a couple of media houses, but they were reluctant to publish this news. It's because the media is now highly controlled by the government, and also by the activists of Jamaat Islami and Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Many Army League affiliated journalists, they are not allowed to work anymore. There was a lot of layoff. And also, not only Army League journalists, I mean, affiliated journalists, also many secular journalists got laid off. I even see that even if there is an attack on Hindus after this so-called Islamic revelation, in my opinion, it already happened. But they will. I just take their assumption in this sense that they will do it directly, or they will declare it on public, right? So I don't think that if there is an attack or mass migration towards India, I don't think our media will utter a single word about it. That's the future I see for the Hindus right now.
Right. It's interesting, Azam, you spoke about your media, because that's my next question. How do we get news from Bangladesh? Because as you said, and as I have noticed over the past couple of weeks, your media do not report many of the things that's happening. For instance, Chittagong and the army attack on Chittagong has not really been covered the way reports from individual sources. I have some within Bangladesh came to us. My sources on the ground in Chittagong, Hindu rights activists, members of the ISKCON, what they told me and what your media, your newspapers and your websites, what they said do not really tally. So where do we get news from Bangladesh, and what is happening, and what do you think will happen to Bangladeshi media?
Well, I think they're literally choking now, but they don't tell it to you or to anybody. It's because of Dr. Yunus. I would blame this person entirely.
Dr. Yunus?
Yes, he's a secular person, at least in his life, but he's surrounded by radicals, and he's the facet of this government. Every time you see him, especially he's the poster boy of Western intellectual community and probably Western media too. Every time they see him as the country leader, they would give him indemnity to anything. I guess they wouldn't trust you or me. Instead, they would take his words for granted. So our media, they will suffer a lot. They're already suffering. They're not telling it. And also, I don't know if you know this, a few days back, I think it was 2 days ago or yesterday, I'm not sure. I think it was 2 days ago. Our editor, we have an organization for all the editors of media houses in our country, and they asserted something which stated that the media is not free yet. So it is a signal. It means that there is an immense pressure on media to publish certain news and to hide certain news. This is the reason they published it. And also, I think you and we talked about Joshimuddin Rahmani, the theoretical leader of Ansarullah,
Yeah.
and he threatened Daily Star and Pratham a few days back, and some other media houses too. And there was a lot of police surrounding their building, and so and also some radicals, they're threatening to burn down certain media houses. So there is a lot of pressure. Some are visible, some are invisible, and I don't know how our media houses would deal with it. It's also, we need to remember something. Some media houses were illegally occupied by BNP leaders, Jamaat Islami leaders in the recent past, the last 3 months. So they have a huge influence on the news content too. So we need to remember all these things, and I think in the near future, I see only one thing for our media: they will become a puppet or a mouthpiece for the current regime. That's the future I see.
The gentleman you spoke about is heads the Ansarullah Bangla team, and I think one of the first things the current government had done is release him from jail
Yeah.
when Dr. Yunus came to power. Uh, we spoke at length about Hindus in Bangladesh. What about secular-minded, democratic Muslims in Bangladesh? There are spaces in Dhaka, these 5 spots, the tri-state and some more, where people lead, and also outside it, where people lead a certain kind of lifestyle. There are artists, and there are poets, and they also push the boundary a bit in terms of how they live, what they put out. What do you think is going to happen to them? What do you think is going to happen to uh, the women's movement? What do you think is going to happen to your cinema and to your OTT space, which had really started coming up, and they were pushing content? Do you think all those things will get pushed back?
I think so. I think so. I mean, that's how it would turn up. If you look into recent past, I mean, in the last 2-3 months, I can't count how many women posted on Facebook they were assaulted or verbally harassed or physically harassed by people on the street. I can't count them. Yeah, there were like hundreds, So this is a symptom of the current society, or the sickness of our society right now. And I understand that for some people, even for me, Sheikh Hasina was a perfect, or not an ideal ruler. But there we have some monsters in our country. Really, and they're like, the number is sheer. So she imprisoned. At least she tried. Sometimes she tried to lure them with money, with other resources. Sometimes she imprisoned them. Right? She tried to deal with them accordingly. In my opinion, politically. I mean, sometimes it was forceful. I'd say some of her action might be illegal, but I think she was very reasonable. Just look on the Hefajat Islam in 2013. Watch how she did with them, how she dealt with them. I never liked her steps. I mean, the way she dealt with them. She gave them cash money. She gave them some lands. They were happy. They went back home. Of course, they tried to influence. They felt empowered. They tried to influence curriculum system, education system, everything they could. But they're a monster basically, and they will literally engulf everything if they can. And I think right now they feel that this is their time, and they will try to repress everyone or everything that is creative, which doesn't support their ideology, music, movies, everything. And also there is some other people in our country. I mean, even in the media, we have some sycophants, and they are really loyal to the Islamists, especially the Islamists we have right now in the government. This is the bitter truth. Nobody would utter it. And I don't want to name anybody, but one of our biggest director, film industry, is basically a psychopath of Islamist. We have seen it a lot of time when the bloggers were getting killed. He wrote that they should go and cultivate something in the village, like little finger vegetable or something like that. That's what that was his statement. Can you imagine? People are getting killed, and he was blaming their writings for it instead of blaming the um, killers. So he's still very active. He was very active during that movement, and he's still supporting. So there are some people like him, and we need to be aware of them because uh, somebody does movie doesn't make him a secular person or a rational person. There might be something dark hidden inside them. That's how I see it. And I guess the government policy, the Islamists, and also these kind of people in the media industry, they will shape the future of our media. I mean, of our entertainment industry. Basically, we'll see how it turn out.
Right. Azam, the Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh has several times in the past, also recent past, had said that enough of man-made laws. There should be Sharia law in Bangladesh. Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, there is a big possibility of that, and they have been preparing the population for a long time. I think since '80s, they started these Waj Mahfils
What
throughout the
Murphys?
country, especially during the winter, and
These
they
are
have been
religious gatherings for those
yeah,
who
yeah,
don't.
basically religious gatherings. Yeah, and I mean, thousands of people would attend, and they would promulgate, hatred against Hindus, against Jews, or against the non-believer or atheists. I mean, everything that is not Muslim, they would preach hatred against them. So they have been preparing this field since I think '80s, and now a significant portion of the population is radicalized. So they would try to reap their benefit from here. And this is the reason. Just imagine that. I think Jamaat Islami wouldn't utter this word even in the '90s or even 10 years back. They wouldn't, but now they do. Not only them, there are other political parties too. And how it is going there, I can give you a simple hint. A few days back, there was a huge gathering of Tabligh. It's a religious organization. It used to be non-political, and they made a huge gathering. Hundreds of thousands of people were there, and one of their leader openly said that if anyone tried to criticize this government, we will take out their eyes. So you could see what is their base and how they are trying to growing up. So I think yes, they think that Sharia law is very pragmatic in Bangladesh. Of course, in world's context or today's context, it's not pragmatic. But they think it's their time, and they could.
So there would be, you're saying that there might they would want to push it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They think this is the right time.
They think this is the right time. Two last questions, Azam. When do you till what time do you think the Yunus government will be in power, and when do you think the next elections will be held?
Well, they're not very interested in elections, to be honest. They recently passed a law, and it states that they could be in power indefinitely. And whatever they do during this period, they will enjoy indemnity. If they kill hundreds, thousands of people, you can't bring them to the court. It's because they have an indemnity. And I guess it means that they will try to be in power as long as they can. That's their ultimate goal. And Of course, you asked me about is the Sharia law. There's their ultimate goal too, I guess. Um, I don't think there will be an election in the near future in Bangladesh. I don't see it.
But do you think there is a American politics, rather American election results with Donald Trump coming to power, it will change the geopolitics of the region, because a lot of people are commenting on that.
Yes, I think, of course, India's influence will be emboldened in the South Asian region. I think we can assume that there's a possibility, but I
Also,
don't think.
Trump very emphatically spoke about Hindus in Bangladesh. Only recently, the tweet went viral where he said that he would not allow mobs attacking Hindus and other minorities the way they did. Uh,
Well, Trump is a populist to a certain extent. I mean, there might be some debate, but he is indeed. So he needed the vote of Indian origin voters in the USA, and I think they're the second largest immigrant group in the USA. So I'm not sure entirely whether he said it just because he needed some vote or he really meant it.
right.
And also it depends. The thing that happened in Bangladesh,
Yes.
uh, how it happened. Is it their central policy, part of their central policy, Asia Pacific policy, or just because it happened, U.S. Yunus has some friends in the White House. Uh, I don't want to name the family, but they're very famous in the USA. That family. So I don't think. I think that if it is part of their Asia Pacific policy, we might not see a lot of changes. But if it happened just because Yunus has some friends in, in the Democratic Party, then we might see some radical changes. It depends.
So you're basically saying it depends on how long the American hand is. So
Yes, exactly.
if it's part of a, if it's not something that a change in presidency sort of would
Yeah,
bring about, then
yeah,
perhaps this will go on for a while more.
yeah.
Okay. Finally, Azam, what gives you the power to carry on writing about Bangladesh on your social media posts? Because though you're in Europe and we didn't disclose exactly which country you're in, but there is threat to your life there also. And you are talking to me. Your face is for the world to see. You also have not hidden your face. So, what gives you the power to go on? And why do you do what you do? Why do you keep writing about Bangladesh, about what's going wrong?
Well, I don't hide my face because it's already public.
Right.
So it wouldn't bring me literally anything. And second point is, yes, sometimes I'm afraid, but I still go on. It is because sometimes when I see injustice against the minorities, my conscience just can't take it, and I think I need to do as much as I can for the people. And I left my country just because of these problems, right? Some people tried to kill me because we wanted a secular country where everybody would enjoy freedom, equality. And if I stop writing while I'm in Europe in a safe environment, why did I left my country? I could just be silent and stay in my country. So this is the reason I go on.
Azam, more power to you, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on.